I hail from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. And then I migrated to New York City. Then I moved to Brooklyn after my first child was born. And then eventually I got into Juilliard in their master's program in composition.
Now, were you always interested in music?
Yeah. I spent my childhood behind a concert grand piano. And I studied with Beveridge Webster, who was a protege, a student of Cassattesers at the Sorbonne. And Beveridge's brother went on to record the Stravinsky ballets for solo piano. And he ended up at Juilliard. And then I went to Carnegie Tech in music for about 6 months. But then they asked me to leave. They told me I didn't have any talent. So I stopped music for 12 years. Didn't play a thing. Nothing.
What did you do in music during that time?
I was a television producer. I've done over about 150 commercials. Then I became a speechwriter for the president of Sunoco Oil Company. And then I became a little videographer. And then one day, my wife said, you're still a musician. And it was interesting. I really wasn't very grounded in any of those things. And I thought maybe it was over for me. Anyway, I became friends with a monster pianist, and he was Balanchine's rehearsal pianist. And he took me under his wing, and after about 13 months, I knew that I was back into music. And then I went over to Juilliard's extension division, and where I worked with Stanley Wolf for 2 years to audition for the master's program. And I think when I got accepted, I was the oldest person ever accepted since the Second World War. So
do you mind how old were you when you were accepted?
35.
Okay.
So I was a little bit, I stuck out. I stuck out. Yeah, that was funny. Then, but that's when it started to happen. It's been a magical story in a way. I was standing in the hall in my locker with all these incredibly beautiful dancers surrounding around me, all of us in our particular lockers. And this woman came walking down the hall, whom I didn't know who she was, an elderly woman, older woman, very regal, extraordinarily, a real presence. And she said, "Who are you?" She thought, "How did you get here?" And she immediately asked me to come into her office, and this was Martha Hill, who started dance education in this country. And she put together probably one of the most incredible dance faculty ever. And at that time, Jose Limon had just died. So that was my first commission. I wrote the epitaph for Jose Limon. It was 2 years at Lincoln. Played for 2 years at Lincoln Center. That was my first ballet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've written about 5 ballets. Ballet dance has always been one of my favorite places. I just love dance. In fact, all my music, no matter what it is, has an element of motion and dance to it. That's really a deep part, because my studies with John Coleman, who was Balanchine's rehearsal pianist, I just had to dance everything. He just inculcated into me the sense of movement. So it's been with me ever since.
Now, what are the titles of your ballets?
The ballet was Moments. Epitaph for Jose Limon, who was an extraordinary choreographer and probably one of America's greatest. He was from Mexico. And he started with Martha Graham, I think. And then he went to Juilliard with Martha Hill. And the rest is history. I mean, he really is extraordinary. It was a great honor to write music for his demise. So that was an incredible moment for me. That was my first commission ever. And then after that, I I graduated, and now I'm 38, and Jacob was born. And of course, you have to start earning a living, so to speak. And I got called for jury duty right after graduation, and I surmised that I should probably go and do that now, at that moment, rather than wait, because I was just getting started in my teaching practice. So I went, and lo and behold, there was Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh, wow.
Called for jury duty. And in those days in New York City, you didn't sit down. You stood in a huge assembly hall and formed kind of two groups that are looking at each other. And then there was this aisle that when your name was called, you walked up the center of the aisle in between these groups. And it was so serendipitous. And what happened was, as Kurt was walking up to the bailiff, a lady behind me said, "Oh, look, there's Kurt Vonnegut." And I also had a sidebar during my years of not being a musician. I was out at the Writers' Workshop at the University of Iowa. And Edie Vonnegut was out there, and Kurt taught out there. So I kind of knew something about him, although I wasn't really directly friends with her. We were friends through other people. Anyway, he was sitting on a windowsill smoking a cigarette, and I approached him. And I sort of finagled my way into talking to him, and I said, I went to school with Edie, which is true. And that was about this size. And he liked me. So he sort of took to me. I was more threatened of him than he was of me. I mean, he was really a very gentle man. Anyway, he had just recently had seen Weber's Requiem, and he was sort of annoyed with it because he didn't think Weber had done the proper amount of research. So he had, believe it or not, in his back pocket, we met again. He took me to lunch, right? And of course, typical Vonnegut, we just sort of went to a diner, which is what I love. And he had in his pocket 8 pages of ecclesiastical Latin. And he had rewritten the Requiem Mass for the Catholic Church, and he wanted me to write the music. So I said, yes, why not? Say yes to everything, right? And I did. And I wrote 183 pages of music, and this thing is now kind of a legend in the independent world. It's been, I don't know how many years it's been in the top 100 on Amazon of indie vocal and opera.
Where can people find it?
It's still there. It's now. I just saw it the other day. It's 15.
Oh wow!
And sometimes I'm number 1. It's amazing. I never knew this. My book writer for Tashi Tibet, Pamela Rummel, found it. She just did a little research on me, and I said, "Do you know that you're in the top 100?" I had no idea. Well, nothing like being well known when you don't even know it, which is okay with me. I'm all right with that. I don't mind. Anyway, I started teaching composition privately. And my brother introduced me to Michael Brecker, the great jazz saxophonist of the Brecker Brothers. And through him, I ended up teaching probably, without exaggeration, 27 of the greatest jazz artists in this country. I taught Lucy Simon, Carly's sister. Russ Kunkel, the melodic, he was kind of the backup band for Carly and a lot of other people. On and on. Brecker, Sanborn, Stern, Joey Calderazzo, oh God, Jim Golden. Just a whole plethora of jazz greats. Became either on or off jazz. And then, of course, there was lots and lots of others. I just got a text message from a student that I worked with 30 years ago wanted me to look at his latest work. I don't know how many people I've taught. But then from there, I got hired by the School of Visual Arts to teach music to motion graphic artists. And that's been my main career, and at FIT, National Institute of Technology. And I was taken under the wing of Bruce Wands, who's now retired, and Terrence Mason has taken over his job. And I have a huge body of animation and graphic artists that are students of mine. So all over the world, from Hong Kong to Russia to Argentina. So I've developed. I just, been going on and on.
What's your favorite thing about teaching?
Say what to me?
What is your favorite thing about teaching?
My favorite thing? About teaching, it's quite simple. Watching a young animator or motion graphic artist light up when they have the right music with their work. That is really, I get so much pleasure out of that. Because that takes it someplace that they couldn't go by themselves. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling for me. And I'm really devoted to it. Just yesterday, a young man from Germany at Fashion Institute, I turned him on to some, of all pieces, avant-garde German music by Anton Webern, and had it played with a particular animation video that was close to his vision, and he just, oh God, you should see the look on his face. He was so pleased. And the same with SVA. In fact, I just found out last semester that one of my students has won Student Academy Award.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they're really. Our SVA's in its computer arts department is renowned. That's the 5th Student Academy Award I think they've won. But their graduates are everywhere, from Blue Sky to Pixar to just on and on. Everywhere aspects of the industry. DreamWorks, they're really talented. And now my FIT kids are blossoming. They're becoming better and better. They're getting better and better, and it's wonderful. I think it's good to teach that way because it keeps me going, and it supplements my income from Social Security. But at the same time, you know that one, and it keeps me. It keeps me fresh and in people's lives, and I'm not just sitting, in my garden tending to my tomatoes, which I do, but now I have that too. So I do both, and I think it's important for an artist to give back, as it was given back to me. I mean, after 12 years of being away from music, I didn't know where I was, so I couldn't even hear or play the piano. And through the very patient brilliance of certain men in my life, and women, Martha Hill especially, who took a chance on me, I wouldn't be where I am today. She's an amazing woman. She never even heard my music when she gave me the commission.
Oh, wow.
She's a genius that way. Somebody once made a joke. Martha Hill likes blue people. You're blue. I like you.
Oh, okay. What does blue people mean?
That's just a way of she has this knack of discovering talent. She's unbelievable. If you do any search on her, she's renowned. She's dead. She died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, long ago. A lot of them. My TC video, I'd say, David Diamond, one of the greats in my life. That was a tremendous experience. So then I began to write, and just be a composer and a teacher. And along the way, I hooked up. I got my student of mine recommended me to Scientific American, and I wrote the incidental music to The Life of Robert Frost for their electronic book. And then a little later on, I was given the commission by another student recommended to do, by a friend of mine. I did the return of On the Waterfront for Bud Schulberg. Actually, I met Bud, and that was a huge success. Elia Kazan came. It was I wrote that score in 8 days. I'm very fast. I wrote 300 bars of music in 8 days. And,
how many compositions have you done in total?
How many have I done so far?
Yeah.
Is that your question? Let's see. I just finished my 4th symphony, which is my Requiem choral symphony. 2 string quartets, 5 ballets, a chamber cantata, which I wrote with Pamela Rummel, called Lay-By. It's a story of a mother in the South, in Georgia. Wonderful story. An opera, Kashi Tibet, which is now the first 3 scenes are being put up next week. She wrote the book, and Jordan Rudder was the music director and co-writer with me. Let's see, a jazz concerto. Oh, God. 2 or 3 major piano solo pieces, chamber music. Incidental music for plays, a number of pieces, jazz songs, many jazz songs. I would say about 4 or 5 that are really I've put out there. I've written a whole bunch of co-written a whole bunch of pop tunes, believe it or not. None of them, just for the heck of it, with various people. Yeah. I don't know whether they will go anywhere, but they're there. But I did it because I wanted to, just get out of where I was for a while.
Now, what is Tibet? And how do you pronounce it correctly?
Say what to me?
What is Sahi Tibet? I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly.
What is Tashi Tibet? Is that what you said? Tashi Tibet is about the invasion of Tibet by China in 1950. But it's really the backdrop to a love story. And that was, I owe completely to Pamela Rummel, who invented and developed the story and came to me. And that's an interesting history because about 1998, 99, my son came home. This is a little bit of a long story, but I'll tell you, and it's quickly. Anyway, Jacob came home with the Pearl, a part of his reading material, and I grabbed it, and I just fell in love with it, and I hooked up with Pat Tracy, a wonderful, wonderful news writer, one of the original people at Channel 4, and we wrote an adaptation of it. He did, and I wrote music. I wrote 200 pages of music for that. And by the time we wanted to get the rights, the agent of the prior had died, and we couldn't figure out where it was in probate court, which takes forever. So he pulled out because of health reasons, and it just got shut down. And then I was searching for a writer for about 3 years, and a mutual friend introduced me to Pamela, very talented woman from Jacksonville, very talented. And she has gone ahead and introduced me to this whole incredible art scene in Jacksonville. I don't know if you know what it is. But that's where Stephen Dare's from, as a matter of fact. And she and I started to talk about working together. And one day she called me up and she said, let's write this about Tibet. And she's very, does her homework. And I took all the music that I had for Pearl and rewrote it. And now it's gone through, this is the fourth reincarnation of it with Jordan Rudder, who's also a Jacksonville guy. Superb music director. I mean, he is a young man. He graduated from Manhattan School of Music. Really, really brilliant. And we're putting it up next week. Three scenes for the industry. And that was 2 years of editing work. I can see that I can show you, I have this sort of long distance run to my life. I am hardly, overnight took about 20 years. I just
keep trying new things. I think you'd try. I like that you were so adventurous and do new things.
You like what? Say what?
I like that you're so adventurous and constantly trying new things.
Yes, I'm blessed that way. That's something I learned from my father, who was a doctor, eye surgeon, very successful. And then one day he sold everything and bought a little church in the middle of Pennsylvania and became a country doctor. Completely changed it. Yeah, everything. I mean, he had huge practice in Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, private, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, I'm out of here. He was about 52, 53. Bought a farm. So he really gave me the impetus to take chances, take risks.
Now, you also worked as a producer for rock bands. How did that come to be?
I worked for producers for rock bands. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, you used to, with Winger, at least one. Is that correct?
Oh, no, that's a little, no. I think that was, let me put it this way. Yeah. No, I wrote with Kip Winger. He came to me as a composition student.
Oh.
Yeah, and we did I have 30, I still have them. He wants them back, I won't give it to them. I will if he wants them back. I have 30 cassettes of songs that he's written, that he wrote under my tutelage with me or inspired by me. And he also he is an incredibly focused artist, and we did some major analysis of classical music. I mean, he wasn't just fooling around. He really is the real deal. And with me, he wrote his first album, and I went and he gave me a double platinum record for that. Relationship. And he went on, studied with others, and that his career is where it is. But we still are. They just wrote a book about him, and I heard I'm in it.
Oh wow!
Well, yeah, Dennis Waller wrote a book about it.
A long time.
Say what?
Do you know what he's doing now? I haven't heard about him in a long time.
Well, he tours as solo. He does his music, but he's also writing classical. He's written 2 ballets. He's written classical music, won some awards. His former wife was a ballet dancer. She died tragically, but he is, and he is. Oh yeah, he's become a classical composer.
Well, that's interesting.
And one of the reasons the author of the book called me was he couldn't figure out where Kip was in the world. Was he a rock and roll heavy metal guy, or was he a classical composer? I said, don't even bother asking yourself that.
Well, why do you have to be one or the other?
That's right. I said, he's what Gershwin was. He has the Gershwin thing. So do I. It's now all over the place, but in those days, Gershwin did whatever he was asked to do. Opera, film scores, pop songs. That's the way Kip is. That's right. You're right. You hit the nail on the head. Yep.
Now, what are some of your favorite pieces of your own music that you've created?
That's a good question. All my children. Which is my favorite child?
No, everyone.
Well, sometimes. No, that's a good question. It's a legitimate question. What is a good question? Wow. I have some of my music for theater is beautiful. It kind of still grabs me. I love Tassi Tibet. That is some of the most melodic and heartfelt music I've ever written. And Jordan Rudder really edited it so that it's really accessible now. And with Pam's book, that is a wonderful thing. I love the chamber cantata. My more recent works is that I wrote for her mother. My first string quartet that I wrote with David Diamond was, my wife still feels to this day, is some of the best music I've ever written. And that was the first composition that I did that you could really hear my progress, my expertise. Then my Fourth Symphony that I wrote with Katie Agreska's music, I incorporated it into it. She's wonderful. She's one of the great vocal teachers of all time. She saves Cyndi Lauper's career, Steven Tyler's. She does all the Jersey Boys. She's a magnificent artist. And we wrote together a couple of beautiful pieces from the Catholic Mass, and that's inside my Fourth Symphony. That still knocks me out. On the Waterfront that I did with Schulberg is also extraordinary. And it sort of reminds me of my mother's people. And so I don't know. There's not one. I didn't give you one, did I? It sort of changes.
Few is good.
Well, I remember someone asked Charles Dickens which was his favorite novel, and he said, "It's the one I'm looking at."
That works too. Now, what are some of your favorite pieces of music from other people?
Oh, Lordy. That's easy to talk about, but it's a little bit expansive. I've grown to love in my later years Shostakovich. In fact, my second string quartet premiered in Rome with the Shostakovich quartet, which I was greatly honored, and Nina Rota and Piazza Navona. That was a magnificent experience. I still, to this day, go back to the Bach instrumental pieces and play them over and over again. I love Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto, his Third Symphony. On Williams is magnificent. These are things I play over and over again. I've grown to love music before 1750, pieces of it, which is really Dunstable, Josquin Dupré. They were introduced to me at Juilliard, and I was flabbergasted at how magnificent they were. So, and Brahms I just got finished listening to Brahms' Fourth Symphony, the first movement. I love that. Really love it. And Mozart's 23rd Concerto, Piano Concerto, which is exquisite in its simplicity. So that's. I mean, not all. I do Schoenberg, orchestral pieces. That's a strange mix. And so now I've been kind of gravitating to some of the more electronic composers like Stockhausen, because I learned from them. I've given up trying to say only this or not that. That's not a good way to do business. Whatever is good, I want to know about it. You know? It's
yeah.
important.
Now, do you only play the piano, or do you play other instruments now too?
No, I only play the piano. I only play the piano. I hear just about all the other instruments. I'm not big on the guitar. That's something I've never quite gravitated to. I've written some guitar pieces. The piano, yeah. I grew up on the piano. I know the piano. It's sort of my instrument.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. I spent many hours behind it.
Now, please tell me about your theater work in New York City.
Say what?
I was told you did some theater work in New York City.
You were hoping to get some theater work?
No, I'm sorry. I was told you did theater work. You worked in theater?
Yeah, on the waterfront.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did the incidental music for the return for Bud Schubert wanted to bring it to stage. So I wrote the music for that.
Oh, okay.
That's where I met, well, I didn't meet him, but he was there in the area. And I went out to Bud's house, and I always wanted to hold an Academy Award, so I held his. And I saw pictures of him with Liz Taylor walking through the set for the Night of the Iguana. Oh, what a magnificent woman. You just can't get a bad photograph of Liz Taylor. And it's just, we met, we chatted, and it was quite a success. I was very pleased. Very, very pleased. And then I did some small theater pieces. And, well, the chamber cantata that I wrote with Pamela is theatrical. And, of course, the opera, Tashi Trebet, is extraordinary theatrical. That's a huge piece. Huge piece. It's about 2.5 hours long. And we're doing it at the National Opera Center next week. So that's uppermost in my mind. That's a major effort on my part. It's taken years of work. While I was doing other things. But I was always writing something about that. So now it's ready to be born. Very exciting.
Now, is there anything you'd like to add about your family?
My family?
Yes.
Oh, of course. They suffer through all this. There were times when we had $50. I don't think you can be an artist and have it any other way. Yeah, I'm married for about 50 years now. Actually, last week. And
happy anniversary.
50th anniversary. Yeah, we don't talk about it anymore. It's just we look at each other and laugh. Oh my God. And I have 2 sons, Jacob and Nathaniel. Jacob went to Bard as a fiction writer. And Nathaniel is going into pre-med. He's the CAT scan operator at Woodhull Hospital at night, and he does works for a orthopedic practice at Lincoln in Union Square. He does the X-rays. So they're on their way. I have a little granddaughter that I never thought that I really love to death. She's adorable, and it's just real. I'm sort of that kind of guy. I never was big on hanging out. I mean, I've known a lot of great people in the arts. I've known the world people. I've known some of the original activists during the Democrat. But my own personal way of living has been very quiet, kind of conventional. You wouldn't know who I am if you drove up the neighborhoods. I'm me. I put my garbage out like everybody else. That's where I like to do it. I mean, that doesn't mean it's the only way. It's just the way it's sifted out for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So,
what's something you'd like people to know about you?
Say again?
What is something you'd like people to know about you?
Oh boy. I like I like them to like my music and know who wrote it. I like them to go and say, oh, that's Edgar Grana's music that he did with Pamela or Rummel or Jordan Rudder. That's what I would like. And that's happened a few times. I like that. I like when my music precedes me. That's an honest answer.
Now, what do you... Oh, excuse me. What do you like for fun?
What do I like for fun?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if I open my little garage door, you'll see my garden. I've become an avid gardener. I mean, really big time. I mean, I've got tomatoes and zucchini and all sorts of herbs. Although my cucumbers are not doing well this year. Eggplant. My fig tree is going. I love gardening. I sort of stumbled in it. My landlord is a gardener, professional gardener, and he lives next door. And he very graciously I rent from him, and he lets me use his garden. I share whatever I grow with him and his family, but it's become a passion with me. And bike riding. Oh, I love the bike ride. I just love my biking.
Active, that's good.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, very fortunate. Believe me, it's uppermost in my mind. You know, you get to be my age, and 80% of your conversation is about your health. You know, you really, you look around and you suddenly realize you're the last man standing. And, you know, I ache. I'm supposed to ache. But I don't have any, as my mother used to say, I got nothing that's going to kill me, just makes my life miserable. That's my mother. It was a big, 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 big influence in my musical life.
What would you like your legacy to be?
You know, if you'd asked me that a number of years ago, I would have said my music. Now, if you've asked me that now, I would say the respect and good feelings that my students have for me. That I made some mistakes, but on the whole, I really gave them as much as I could as an honest teacher. That would be my legacy. People. All the rest is decoration. Yeah, people. That's a big change in me. You know, I call Young Turks. I thought that success was going to make me somebody. And I had success. And then I didn't have success. But then I had students. And I saw how important that was. Yeah. People. My two sons. Yeah.
Now, where can we find your music?
On Edgar Grana Music, all one word, edgargranamusic.bandcamp.com. That's my official music site that I upload constantly things that I've written. That's that, and I go through all my music, and I don't put everything up there, but I put what's important to me. It's pretty expensive. I'm not prolific like some of my colleagues were at Juilliard. I mean, some have written 77 pieces. I can't do that. What I write is chiseled and refined. I'm like a Swiss watchmaker. So I spend a great deal of time on things. So, and because I started so late, I don't have the oeuvre that these guys have. They started a lot younger than I, but that's okay. I don't write to compete like that. That's not my place to do that.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'm looking forward big to next week to seeing Tasha Tibet with Pamela Rummel and Jordan Rudder and all the work we've done. I'm saying that for them and all the singers. I mean, it's an extension of my own. It's not for me only, but that's what I'm also very big on is collaboration. I'm really big on working with people, and that's a major component to me as being an artist. So that would be like my last parting remarks to you, if I may.